and tell it to record. And I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Kate for a blessing and reflection.
Thank you, Maddie. So I was thinking about what kind of prayer or blessing to share with you all. And since this is an end of year gathering, I thought I'd share a blessing of the end of the year. It's written by Irish poet John O'Donoghue, who comes from the Christian tradition, but this poem itself is not Christian explicitly. It's just, I think it will speak to everyone. So I would like to share it with you all. All right. At the end of the year, as this year draws to its end, we give thanks for the gifts it brought and how they became inlaid within, where neither time nor tide can touch them. The days when the veil lifted and the soul could see delight, when a quiver caressed the heart in the sheer exuberance of being here. Surprises that came awake in forgotten corners of old fields, where expectations seemed to have quenched, the slow brooding times when all was awkward and the wave in the mind pierced every sore with salt, the darkened days that stopped, the confidence of the dawn, days when the beloved faces shone brighter with light from beyond themselves, and from the granite of some secret sorrow, a stream of buried tears loosened. We bless this year for all we had learned, for all we loved and lost, and for the quiet ways it brought us nearer to our invisible destination.
Thanks, Kate. Do you want to introduce yourself to the community?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Kate. I use she, her pronouns. I am the program associate here at Earth Ministry. So this is part of my placement as a member of the Episcopal Service Corps program, which is an intentional community program for young adults who are kind of discerning what they want to do with their lives. So I live on the campus of St. Mark's Cathedral in Capitol Hill region of Seattle, and 4 days a week, I work here helping Jessica with advocacy and Maddie with operations, and a little bit with congregations. Haven't done too much with that yet, but looking forward to doing more of that. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. I will be working here until the end of June.
And I can hop in. I think we're just going to be doing staff introductions. So I have the joy of knowing most of you, but I am Sister Jessica Zimmerly, newly ordained. Can you see my halo? Just kidding. We don't do halos in the Lutheran tradition, but I am Lutheran born and bred, and just celebrated my ordination as a deacon, a minister of word and service. My pronouns are she, her. I am calling in today from the Earth Ministry office on Duwamish land, and I serve as your advocacy director. So that's a bit of a shift for us this year. Previously, my role was program and outreach director, and with the help of the talented Kia Colucci joining our team, we've kind of honed in my role to be more advocacy focused, which is great because before I was doing it all. So I will, with that, and then pass over to Kia for her intro.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Kia Colucci. I'm the multi-faith program manager, and I use she, her pronouns. I am very excited right now because as I'm going through everyone, I recognize almost every one of you. So I feel like I've finally been here long enough. That's very fun for me. Love that. And I'm going to pass it to AC now.
Hey all, I am AC Churchill. I am the executive director here at EM WAIPL, and coming also from the EM WAIPL office. I'm on Duwamish land. Usually I am in Tacoma, so on Puyallup lands, and they, them pronouns. And I come from and am an ordained pastor within the Christian Church Disciples of Christ tradition. So then I will pass it back on over to Maddie.
Yeah, we also wanted to give a shout out to our board members who are here today. I see a few of you. If you want to just give a wave and say hello to everyone, we appreciate you all. Yeah. And I think with that, I'm gonna hand it back to AC.
Thanks, Maddie. So this year, we're going to kind of break this section down into some chunks. I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of where we have been, the kind of the focuses of our community, our organization, and the work that we've been doing across the state. And then we'll pass it on over to Jessica and to Kia to do more intentional or to do a kind of a deeper dive into the specific pieces around advocacy work and houses of worship connection, community connection. So one things that I want to share with you all is that this past year, we have been really leaning into a strategic plan that was started in 2020, right in the midst of COVID, or at the beginning of COVID, and then COVID happened. And so we are continuing the great work that the board and the staff and the organization have laid out. There are some particular areas that we have been focusing on. The first being embracing and moving into intentionally being a multi-faith organization. We celebrate the work and the history that got us to where we are, of being connected to and started by Episcopal leadership. And we celebrate that work, and that informs our work going forward to really connect with those from all faith traditions and spiritual traditions in order to do this collective work. The additional piece that we've been working on really intentionally is embracing and leaning into anti-racism and anti-oppression work as it connects to environmental justice. So recognizing that our roots started with one that were focused in on communities, focused on a specific type of environmental care and stewardship, which is good and beautiful. And the work in which we feel called to as an organization also incorporates and listens to communities who are first impacted by environmental degradation and environmental harm and environmental racism. So becoming and leaning into, as an organization, of being an anti-racist organization has been really powerful and challenging for us, as has being multi-faith. And those are amazing growing edges. The last kind of piece that I want to say overview wise is that we are growing our impact across the state. We have been a statewide organization for quite some time and recognize that a lot of our roots have been developed within King County and Pierce County. We have seeds planted across the state and are beginning the nurturing process to grow them from the seedlings and the saplings and perhaps even the small trees that we don't even know the impact that is already being done in those places, to growing them to the trees and to the grounded work that we already know is happening across the state, and we want to support that work that's already happening. Which leads me to the piece that I want to say before we get into the advocacy and the congregational support, which is for this coming year. I know we're not completed with the end of the year review yet, but for this coming year, we will be focusing on sustainability, how we really carry this work into the work that we are doing for the coming decades, because this coming year, we will celebrate our 30th anniversary. And so we want to celebrate another 30 years with you all. And to do that, we need sustainable work. And part of that sustainability is financial support. So Maddie, I'd ask that if you would be willing, if you put the link in, if you haven't already received your fall appeal or seen our social media on Giving Tuesday, and haven't given a gift yet, or perhaps you have, we thank you for those of you who already have. And for those of you who are still considering and would like an opportunity, here's your chance to give. And as you see that link, would like to pass it on over to Jessica and to Kia to talk more about what has happened for Earth Ministry WAIPL this year. Thanks.
Thank you, AC, and thank you everybody for being part of that community and being on this journey with us, and for your support. Maddie, can you pull up our slide deck, please? So what we're going to do now, and then don't worry, there'll be time for you to talk and connect with one another too. So we won't just be talking at you the whole evening. But for now, we wanted to share kind of reflecting on some of the top pieces of our work throughout the year. And Kia and I decided to share this with you by season. So we're going to walk through the seasons, starting with winter. Early in the year, and we'll go through both congregational support and advocacy for each season. So we'll kind of move through the year together that way. And I believe Kia will be up first with the congregational pieces.
Give me just a second. I've got it. Got too many tabs open, y'all.
So we'll start in winter at the top of the year. So one of the first things we did was we expanded colleague connections. So what that was before was the Net Zero group that Jess was helping organize. And that had 4 congregations very involved. But once we decided to open it up to the broader Earth Ministry WAIPL community, we got a lot more congregations involved. So we have 31 congregations who are now involved in this gathering every month, 3 of which are Jewish, 1 is Catholic, and then we have a little bit of diversity when it comes to where they're located in the state. So 2 in Pierce County, 2 in Thurston, we have 3 in Spokane, and 1 in Island County, 1 in Clallam County, and 19 in King County. Then we have our first event with the Shemitah Project Northwest of the year. And that was a call to brotherhood rooted in beloved community. It's an event for Tu B'Shavat and MLK Day. They were on the same day this year. And that was all about coming together to study Shemitah texts from Torah alongside the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And then we hosted our environmental justice workshop. This was part of an international climate justice teach-in, and it was a worldwide organized event by Bard College and Open Society University Network. And our specific workshop was designed to help us better understand how and why pollution, disruptive agricultural practices, and other environmental injustices in our state specifically, especially affect members of racial minorities and people experiencing poverty, as well as talking about all the specific issues that different communities face around the state, and understand our role as people of faith in combating these environmental injustices. And then we have Jessica and her winter accomplishments.
Thanks, Kia. Oh, I see a question about the slides. We can certainly share these slides. That's a great ask, Celia. Good to see you here. Okay, so for our winter advocacy, of course, winter, excuse me, is our season for the state legislature to be in session. So 2022 was the first fully virtual state legislative session. So we had a lot of learning to do and adaptation of how we show up and advocate. I'm really proud of what we accomplished together with that. I think that we saw more participation across the state because we were able to mobilize people of faith to sign in for hearings where as previously you had to be on Capitol campus for that. So we saw people kind of being able to participate more fully. We also started a new opt-in list, and that's something we're going to do again this coming session. So this is for people who want to receive more frequent updates about the bills we're supporting and the timely actions each week. And we did have 3 top priorities. They were all new bills. And as you might know, it's hard for a bill to pass its first time through, but we're proud of what we supported, that we really feel like they aligned with our JEDI values. And we did pass 2 bills. So we passed one to close a loophole in the Growth Management Act that helps manage urban sprawl. And then we accelerated a program from a bill we passed previously on our toxic chemical reform work. Also in winter, we did some climate justice work around advocating for building electrification. So we started out with large buildings, multifamily buildings and commercial buildings, and looking at wanting all electric heat for water and space heating in those buildings. And we spoke up for that, and we did achieve that. And a teaser, we did the same thing for small buildings. So it was a big year for looking at how we address the building sector and its pollutants. Another big theme that you'll notice in our advocacy is around salmon. So we, in the winter, helped organize 2 salmon rallies, one in Tacoma, one in Olympia, where here you can see Rabbi Seth Goldstein was one of the speakers. So bringing our values into the conversation about salmon stewardship and our responsibility to tribes. And then we did some advocacy on toxic chemicals and again, implementation of a bill we've passed previously. So you'll notice that's a trend in our advocacy throughout the year. We want to see things through the finish line, right? We don't want to just pass the bills. We want to make sure that the bills become acted upon and implemented in a way that also aligns with our values. So we did a lot of that more administrative work this year. And back over to Kia for spring.
Okay, so spring is where Jessica had a very busy winter. I feel like spring is where things kicked off congregationally. So the first thing we did was we debuted our Sphere Solar Energy Partnership. That is a very new to Earth Ministry WAIPL type of program because it's a referral partnership. And we debuted this for our Earth Day event and in solar. And we've since sent them 12 solar referrals and 2 households. We participated in the Hope for Creation conference, which was in Spokane. So this was a combined effort type of event between St. John's Cathedral, Gonzaga Center for Climate, Society, and the Environment, Terrain, and Fig Tree. And the purpose of the conference was to spotlight local care
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me, but it looks like we might have lost you with the Wi-Fi. So is that, Maddie, is that happening for you too? Okay. So I'll pick up for her, and then if she's able to reconnect, we'll turn it back over, of course. Maddie, can you maybe text her? I don't know if she probably knows. Okay. So after we were in Spokane for that conference, we also, as part of the Shemitah Project Northwest, rolled out our first newsletter. So the Shemitah Project is a partnership between Earth Ministry WAIPL and Congregation Beth Shalom. And one of our awesome board members, Deirdre Gabe, works really hard on that with Kia. And we are now releasing, I think, kind of quarterly newsletters to share about the work of the various different synagogues who are working with the Shemitah Project to lean into those values. Of course, we have our welcoming of our new executive director, Reverend A.C. Churchill, in the house. So we're happy to welcome them to the team in May. And then their first event was our trivia fundraiser. So that was a labor of love by Maddie to bring together the community for a time together and also raise funds for our work. And I think Kia might be back. Kia, I finished up this section for you, so I'll just roll into advocacy briefly. Thanks. Okay, so our faithful advocacy in the spring had some highlights. We got to go back to attending the National Interfaith Power and Light Conference in Washington, D.C. So Kia and I represented Earth Ministry WAIPL there, and I taught the Faithful Advocacy Workshop. That's a longstanding tradition that we bring into that community. So you can see one of my selfies there is from that. We got to learn and network with others doing this important work and went to lobby on the Hill a bit. Then a lot of our work was focused on salmon through the spring and summer. So there was a draft report from Governor Inslee and Senator Murray on replacing the services of the Lower Snake River Dam. And that is something we mobilized folks to comment on. It had over 250 comments from people of faith. And when we were doing that, we were really intentionally lifting up pieces of their report that addressed the spiritual and cultural impacts to Native nations, and bringing in the message that salmon recovery is not just a biological necessity or legal obligation, but really a moral responsibility with a high cost of inaction. And one way that we helped out in bringing forward salmon was by humbly helping with the totem pole journey again this year. So we were happy and honored to be asked to be the point of contact for the last stop on the totem pole journey. The focus this year was the Snake River to Salish Sea Spirit of the Waters. So furthering this conversation about salmon recovery and freeing the Snake River. So we had over 200 folks gathered at St. Leo's Parish in Tacoma. And it was a really powerful event. It was live streamed and we have a recording of it. So if you weren't able to be there, it's one that is on our website. And I'll turn it now back to Kia.
Thank you. Sorry about my Zoom. I don't know what's going on. So this summer, it's like the theme of us being very busy is still going. We were all around the state this summer. So first up was us supporting the Bellingham Multi-Faith Network for Climate Justice at their Sacred Earth Fair. And that is one of our affiliates, our partners. And at that event, there were about 36 different representatives from spiritual communities, eco businesses, environmental organizations. And we tabled there and connected with more communities in Bellingham. And then there was the Web of Interconnectivity, which was filled with prayers and dreams for our collective future that some of you may actually have helped contribute to if you joined us on a hoopla tour stop. And then the hoopla was probably our major summer thing that we did. So we had 8 different stops across the state of Washington, one of which was online. And it was a very ambitious fundraising tour that we did, but we did it. And it was a lot of us gathering in person for an Earth Ministry WAIPL event for the first time since COVID began. And it was mine and AC's first time meeting most of the community in person. And so that was very fun. And then in the middle of the hoopla, we went to Holden Village and we were on faculty there. And we did workshops on environmental justice, a faith-centered response, screening congregations, the history of environmental justice, faithful advocacy for environmental justice as well. And that was a great time. Again, mine and AC's first time being up there. It was fabulous. I saw a bear in person. It was very exciting. And then to end the summer, we partnered with Faith in Place on their Green Team Summit. So Faith in Place is the Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin affiliate of Interfaith Power and Light. Their name is Faith in Place though. And they had a free virtual Green Team Summit where the feature primary speaker was Dr. Catherine Hayhoe. And there were a number of different sessions focusing on environmental justice, climate resilience, and healing-centered justice. Now, that is my part of the summer. So we're going to pass it on to Jess so she can get into advocacy, because that also did not stop.
This is kind of a fun back and forth. So here we are in summer advocacy. So we did a lot around climate justice this summer. So those three pieces were to see the clean fuel standard over the finish line. So this is, again, a bill that we passed last year to reduce our carbon emissions from the transportation sector. And we advocated that that be enacted with the strongest possible timeline allowed by the law. And I'm happy to share that we achieved that. And that is a win that just was, we were notified of, I think, last week. So starting in January 1st, the Clean Fuels program will go into place and will be on the road to less polluting fuels. We also spoke out when PSE, Puget Sound Energy, proposed a rate increase and really actually stated that they wanted to use that to pay for their polluting fracked gas facility that they've constructed on the land and waters of the Puyallup tribe without their consent. So we do not want ratepayers especially to bear the burden for that. And so we mobilized and asked that rate hikes be denied by the Utilities and Transportation Commission. And then we had our second round of building electrification. So remember, in winter, we did our focus on commercial and large buildings. Now, over the summer and into the fall, we did small buildings. So this is homes and then smaller apartment buildings under 3 floors, asking as well that they all have electric heat pumps for space and water heating. And that was also successful. So with that combination, that combination with the larger and now the smaller buildings, Washington has some of the most climate-friendly building codes in the country. And we're so pleased about that. And that will be all going into effect next summer. And then finally, we continued our work on elevating the lower Snake River salmon recovery. And you can see here a picture of me at Seattle City Hall when we went and spoke with the city council, and we responded to the final report. So when we commented on the draft earlier, we then had the final come out late summer. And then our last season will be fall.
Okay, well, in fall, the first thing we did was we welcomed Kate, straight from Canada, which is very exciting. Very happy to have her here. And then this is kind of, Shemitah is a theme of my work this year, and it's been a very good time. So we marked the conclusion of the Shemitah year with the Shemitah Project Northwest Hawkel celebration in October. And this was a gathering that was held at Congregation Beth Shalom in Seattle. And at this celebration, we gathered to study Torah in a very festive atmosphere, eat and bless our food together. We pressed cider. City Fruit was there and we got to hand crank it out. It was very exciting. We made art. We just learned from one another in general. And then we reflected on the Shemitah year as it came to an end. And we also, continuing on speaking everywhere, we got to speak at conventions and on panels around the state as well. So in Bellingham, there was a climate revival event, which was put on by First Congregational Church in Bellingham. And it was focused on what is being done locally to address climate change and what actions can communities take. So the keynote speaker there was Reverend Dr. Jim Antle, and he is the author of Climate Church, Climate World. And the panel included us, as well as the climate and energy manager for the city of Bellingham. And that was a really good time, very fun, very supportive community. And then we got invited to the 112th convention of the Episcopal Diocese of Olympia, which was very like, oh, this feels like a big deal. And it was. I got a podium and everything, as you can see there. And at join and tabling opportunities at the event. And Earth Ministry was specifically asked to take part of this event as an open plenary speaker to talk about what we do and how we support congregations in the work that they do. All right, back to advocacy.
Thank you. We're really focused on salmon currently. So as you can see, that is a theme through the year. This fall, we launched a new season in the advocacy around the Columbia River Treaty. So this is something we had worked on before the pandemic that we're bringing back forward. It's an international treaty between the US and Canada. And when it was created, tribes were not consulted at all. And the only purpose of the treaty was hydro and so energy and flood control. And so we're advocating that ecosystem service be added as a third primary purpose, and that tribes have good co-governance of the river. So we did a webinar with the Upper Columbia United Tribes and the Columbia River Intertribal Fishing Commission on this topic. We'll be doing more. So if you want to learn, that webinar is a good starting place. We also then continued in our partnership with Cecilia. So this is an intertribal nonprofit, and they are who we work together with on the Totem Pole journey this year, in addition to the House of Tears Carvers. And they invited us to support their International Salmon Seas Symposium. So this was bringing together Indigenous leaders from the last 3 great salmon seas, which included in Russia, Alaska, and here with the Salish Sea. So that was a really powerful gathering, and at the final event for that symposium, there's this picture you can see here of Archbishop Aitchen and Jay Julius from Lummi Nation. So we worked throughout the whole year to respond to a request by Native leaders in Cecilia for support from Catholic leadership around Lower Snake River salmon recovery. And so Earth Ministry coordinated a lot of that behind the scenes with the Washington State Catholic Conference. And we ended up with a statement signed by all 5 Catholic bishops of Washington State on caring for creation and the common good in the Lower Snake River region. And we're really excited about that. It's the first time that anything has come out from the bishops on the topic of inland Northwest River stewardship in the last 20 years. So it's a big deal. And it was hand delivered by the Archbishop to Jay Julius and Jode Gowdy, who's from Yakama Nation, at this symposium. So that was a really powerful moment. And I'm going to ask Maddie to put into the chat an action that we just dropped today that is all about this. So we're now kind of doing a grassroots push to get this letter in front of our senators and our governor. So that is the action I want you to take before you go to bed tonight. Okay, and I think we're almost done here. We just have a brief summary.
Okay, and then we kind of touched upon all of this, but to round it out, the colleague connections that we opened up to the broader community that meets monthly, and that's going to continue being an ongoing thing we do. We've been having bi-monthly Shemitah partner meetings with lay leaders or rabbis or whoever wants to be part of the community and get involved. We've had 7 Earth Ministry WAIPL organized events that we've put on. We've had 27 speaking engagements in total throughout the year that we've all taken part in. And then we've had 8 fundraising events this year, which has been a hoot and a half to be part of.
I love that, hoot and a half. Okay, so for our advocacy summed up, we had 10 actions throughout the year. And these numbers were really exciting for me to see. So Maddie is able to work our database, and they found that we had almost 700 individuals put their faith into action with Earth Ministry WAIPL so far this year. The year's not over. Like I said, we have a current action that just opened up. And together, that's over 1,400 actions that have been taken. So those are comments or sign-ons or testifying. Those are us, telling our values, putting our values out there to those who are to represent us and serve the community. So I think that's really awesome. And I'm grateful to have done this work with you all. Now we'll just have a little brief teaser for what's to come, and then we'll go into our sharing.
Okay, first thing coming up is we have new programming for adult education workshops. They are centered around environmental justice. So laying out what is environmental justice, where is environmental justice in Washington State, and then environmental justice by faith tradition, which would include text study and ways people of faith can show up. We have Shemitah Reimagined. So as I've mentioned before, Shemitah year 5782 has come to an end, but now it is time to look to the future, using this upcoming year and future years as an opportunity to transform our community from within. So we are going to remain active and alive throughout this next period of time, throughout the whole cycle, to just strengthen relationships, actively engage with our physical environment and social institutions, to just build a world that will support a deeper embodiment of Shemitah when it rolls back around in 5789, which is 2028 through 2029. And then something we've mentioned at the beginning, upcoming this next year, we will be celebrating the 30th anniversary of Earth Ministry WAIPL's existence. And how that looks, we'll find out. Our development team is doing a lot of hard work to decide how to make it fun for everyone involved.
Thanks, Kia. And we've got a lot of advocacy coming up this winter. So I already mentioned our current action. I saw Kate put that in the chat. Thank you, Kate. Also, over the holiday and early in the new year, before we get into legislative work, we're going to be really pushing some of our toxic chemical reform work. So we're going to have our second round of the Safer Products for Washington program, looking at how we ensure the household items that we come into contact with every day are safe. And then we're going to get into legislative session, and we're still honing in on what our priorities will be, but we're doing that all in good work with coalition partners. I want to flag for you all that Earth Ministry WAIPL is going to be hosting a faithful advocacy training focused on the legislative session on January 12th at 6:30, and Kate can perhaps get that link in the chat as well for us, for those of you who want to go ahead and register. And finally, we are going to be working to halt expansion of the GTN Express pipeline. So this is kind of flown under the radar, and we're going to call it out. Basically, they're looking at increasing capacity for Washington's largest gas pipeline and pushing really highly extra compressed gas through really old pipes. And we don't want to see that. So that is all going to be coming up. Thank you. I see that training is in the chat. And so I think with that, we will turn it on over. Thank you that took a little longer than we thought it was going to. So thank you for listening and doing all of this work with us. The year was one of transition and growth, and like still we filled it with all of this accomplishments and time and community together. So we really appreciate you being a part of all of that.
I think now we want to provide some time for you all to share with one another some of what you are celebrating. We've shared a lot of what we've celebrated, a lot of the wonderful things that staff and community and board members have participated in. And now we want to give a time to hear back from you. And this will be, we'll split you up into groups and you'll have time to share with one another. So for those of you who need a prompt, not everyone does, but for some who do, this could be a celebration that is personal in terms of environmental justice. We're framing this in terms of environmental justice work. I mean, if you got another celebration to share, by all means do it. And when you think about environmental justice and what's happened this past year, what are you celebrating? Could be your personal involvement, something in your faith community, your house of worship, your congregation, or some advocacy that you participated in. And then after you have some time to share with one another, we'll come back into this larger group and maybe hear from some of you all. Maddie, are we ready to split them in? Wonderful, thanks. Thanks, Kate.
Okay, I'm opening the rooms now.
I think we want to take just a few minutes as some people are starting to come back in. We'll give people just a few minutes to come back in. Well, actually, we should have all been brought back. Whether we liked it or not, we got brought back. And so if you have something you would like to share about a celebration that that you had, you can share it in the chat. We encourage you to pop that in. We'd love to hear those different things coming up about your celebrations and the conversations that you had there. And then as we move to close this this evening with one another, want to pass it over to Maddie to talk about the future and hope. Maddie?
Yeah, thanks, AC. So one thing we're gonna do now, Kate, can you, I think we're getting an echo. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna do a word cloud together, which if you've been at an Earth Ministry Zoom event, you might have done before. It's super fun. And we want to do this word cloud on one word that embodies your hope moving forward. So I have put a link in the chat. I just put it right as I said that. And so what you can do is click that link, go to put your word in, and then I am going to share my screen so we can see the words that pop up as people are like submitting their words. Oh, collaboration, that's a good one. And as people put words in, it kind of dances around, and I can save this as well. And we'll take a screenshot so we can have it to look for. Heat pumps, yes, love it. These are all very good. I love it. This is great. Well, thank you all for putting your word in, and I'm going to take a quick, oh, the people keep putting good stuff in. I'm going to take a good screenshot real quick. Okay, thank you all. Oh, people keep putting good stuff in. I love it. All right, I know we're running close to our time, so I'm going to stop the share for now, and we can send this out too if folks want to see it later, and I will pass it back to AC.
Thanks, Maddie. Okay. Want to do again, just one last reminder to you all, both about the salmon action for tonight. Thanks, Jess, for that. And recognizing that this work that we do with one another needs resources, and we have the people and the people power to do this work, and we need the money power, the financial power, in order to make sustainable changes for our world, for our vision of what could be, as we of people of faith lean into the possibilities of hope and what could be in the world. So we'd ask that you consider giving to Earth Ministry, Washington Interfaith Power and Light, as we do this good work. Many of the things that you have seen on your screen tonight, and all of the things that were not mentioned, because the list is long. So thank you, Maddie, for putting that in. Jess, you asked me to do a screenshot, but I have a confession. I'm using Adele. I usually use a Mac. I don't know how to screenshot on Adele.
Maddie,
Somebody,
can you cover us, Maddie?
my technology snobbishness, help me.
Maddie's got us covered.
Thank you, Maddie.
So if you want to turn your camera on for this and you want to lean in and smile, we'll just get a community screenshot.
Did it go? Did it happen? Can we start smiling? Okay, we can. We can. Well, would like to leave you all with this as we conclude our time with one another. And this is a prayer from a resource that I like to use a lot called Infleshed, and we'll make sure that this is sent out for those who would like it. So here is a prayer, a blessing, a grounding for gratitude. To pause and give thanks is to pay attention to the parts of living that bring delight. Turn us from what destroys and make life rich, whatever else may also be. This practice of intentional remembering helps realign our perspective with the whole truth of our lives. When bitterness or fear or grief become the whole view, gratitude points us to the beauty also, and the love, and the simple pleasures that surround our steady companion in life's complexities. So we honor the sacred, the holy, the other. We honor each other. We honor the earth and our creaturely companions. And we remember this web of life that holds us, all of its terrors, all of its gifts. Gratitude paired with denial about all that calls for mending and repair will not satisfy for long. But gratitude that is alive to all that is, a sibling of sorrow, a cousin of rage, so aware of the ache and the loss and injustice, but still seeing cause to pray. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, is to feast on the nourishment of the divine. Blessings to you all, and thank you for being with us this evening.
Thanks all. Take good care.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays. I appreciate all you do. It's awesome.
Thanks, Tom. Blessings.